Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode from Heisman to Headset, the podcast where we dive deep into the game of life, leadership, and culture through the lens of sports, entertainment, and everything beyond. I'm your host, Eddie George. And today, we have got a very, very special guest. He is a comedian and an actor and one of the most recognizable entertainers in the game today. All right, you've seen him light up the stage with his stand-up, bring the laughs to on the big screen, and connect with audience from comedy clubs to Hollywood sets. He's got that rare ability to bridge worlds, mixing humor with heart and always keeping it real, all right? We're talking about none other than the great Gary Owen. Now, Gary's journey is one of resilience, humor, and hustle. From his days serving in the Navy to winning the title of the funniest serviceman in America to starring in films like Think Like a Man, which is a classic, Ride Along. He's shown us that comedy just isn't about jokes. It's about connection, timing, and truth. All right. Now, on this episode, we're going to dive into Gary's story, the lessons he's learned along the way, the people that he's met, the people he's inspired. He drives his creativity and how he's built his career on keeping audiences laughing while staying authentically himself. He's always going to keep it real. So sit back, relax, and get ready for a conversation that equals parts inspiring and most definitely hilarious. This is from Heisman to Headset, and our guest today is Gary Owen. Enjoy. Focusing on getting to know me, I get to know you. We own the fact that, hey, we are here, but we have an opportunity to do something great about it. This is going to bring us together stronger. Because I have every aspiration and intention on winning the MAC this year. That is the goal. And we can jump into some stories. Now, I want to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, too. Your boys are doing it with Flacco, man.
I know.
You got to be excited, dude.
Thank you, Cleveland. Thank you.
Oh, man. Well, listen, man, we can get started, man. It's going to be very conversational. And, you know, this just kind of, you grew up in Ohio. You know, just talk about what life was like growing up in Ohio. Were you an Ohio State fan? Are you, a Buckeye fan, Cincinnati? What's the deal?
No, Ohio State was always the one. That's the one school that brought the state together. Because you got Cleveland and Cincinnati and kind of got the rivalry there. But, on Saturdays, everybody rooted for Ohio State. And it almost seemed unattainable for me because I went to like a high school in Oxford, Ohio, which was Talawanda High School. So I just remember we played this high school, Lebanon, Ohio, my senior year, and they had this running back that had like Hulk Hogan arms. He was so hard to tackle. I thought he was the greatest football player I'd ever seen in my life. And I go, where's that guy going? There's like Ball State. I go, what? I go, if he's going to Ball State, what are Ohio State guys like?
Oh, yeah.
It just seemed unattainable to me that guys can be that good at a sport. Because most of the guys we played in high school were MAC guys. That's where they would go. They go to Miami, OU, Akron,
Bowling Green.
Yeah, Bowling Green. All those, Eastern Michigan. Most of the guys stayed in Ohio though, but they didn't get to the Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan. But yeah, it's just funny because then when you went to Bowling Green, I was like, oh, I know about the MAC, boy. I know about the MAC.
Yeah. No, well, when I was at Ohio State, we played a MAC school, a couple of them. And we actually played BG my freshman year. And it was a dog. Yes, it was a dog fight. That went to the fourth quarter, man. And we could not shake them. And we talk about tough. These dudes, they play hard, they play tough. They kind of chip on their shoulder. They, you look at them on film, they're like kind of undersized, but they will punch you in the mouth, and they got something to prove. So,
well, you look at Ben Roethlisberger, where Ohio State wanted to move him to tight end, and he was like, "Well, the one school that was like you could play quarterback was Miami."
And he could have been great at Ohio State. For years when in the '90s, we couldn't find a quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was tough. We had a couple here or there, but nothing like a string of great ones. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. Yeah. So tell me, talk about your love of comedy. You went into you were Navy SEAL, so thank you for your. I didn't know.
No, I wasn't a Navy SEAL. I was stationed with the Navy SEAls.
Okay, clarify.
But I was no. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to take that credit.
So how did that work? You were stationed with the Navy SEAls?
Well, I was on a base called NAB Coronado. So that's where 3 of the SEAL teams are. 3 of the SEAL teams are in Virginia. 3 are in San Diego. But we had the BUD training. So when you see all the movies of guys trying to become SEALs, that's the base that they do it on. And so every shift, because I was a cop in the Navy, so every shift we had a Navy SEAL with us temporarily for 6 months. They would be like temporary patrol, because if one of those guys have a wire go loose, they're trained killers basically.
Yeah,
we're not gonna be able to stop them. So we need somebody that also is a trained killer, that also has a rapport with them. And I've always thought, I was a terrible cop, by the way, awful. 2 arrests in 4 years when I was in. I let everybody go, but it always made sense to me whenever we're going through something with the police and the public and stuff. I'd always go back to when I was in the Navy, and I always thought, why doesn't every city have somebody local that grew up in the neighborhood on patrol? Because that's what we did, because we knew we could not compete, or we were at a disadvantage if a Navy SEAL went left on us. And instead of coming in what are you doing? Who are you? It's like, hey, Rick, come on, man. You know what you're doing is wrong. It diffused it a little bit. Because we didn't have nothing violent on the base. So we had, when those Navy SEAls get a little liquor in them, they get a little wild.
It sounds like you have a couple stories that are experiences with that. Do you have anyone any stories that you can tell about that?
Well, I always take pride and say I had 2 arrests in 4 years. And one of the arrests, to this day, cracks me up, because we had a nightclub on the base. And 1:45 2 a.m., the nightclub was about to close, and this car went up on the sidewalk and came down. And I was like, oh, man, I got to pull him over because everybody sees. So I pull him over. Listen, I was the king of letting people go. So I knocked on his window. He rolls down the window. He goes, I'm a black man without a record. I'm a black man without a record. I was like, I would like you to keep that title. Could you please quiet down, please? But he got so loud. And then he said, you pulled me over because I'm black. And I go, bro, your windows were tinted. I didn't know what color you were. Now, it was a Cadillac, had an amazing sound system. If he was going to say Gary Guess, I would have guessed. Right. But I didn't know. But now I got him on the I got him out of the car, and I got him on the trunk of his car. Still no handcuffs. I'm still trying to talk to him. Now the club's letting out, and it happened to be hip hop night. It's just black people flooding out of the club, but I knew them all. So they come out. He's trying to rally all these people with him, like, this white cop pulled me over. And they're looking at him like, bro, that's Owen. He's let all of us go. He tried to do a Denzel in Training Day, and I was like Ethan Hawke sitting there like, we're good, right? We're good? Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't have any. I was really good at diffusing situations. Mm-hmm. I was never that cop trying to break the arrest record, And when you live on the base, that's a different dynamic, because you got to see people again if you do arrest them. It's not like I'm leaving.
You got to see them around, and they can confront you and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's interesting, man. So when did you realize that, hey, I'm ready to make a pivot, I want to do something different. And how did you know that comedy was your avenue to hear that your voice be heard, and that was your talent?
Yeah. Well, stand up was always what I wanted to do. It's funny. My high school football coach, who ended up was my sixth grade gym teacher. First day of school in sixth grade, I was talking when he was talking, and he said, what do you want to be, a comedian or something? And I was like, yeah. And he said he had to like reshift because he goes, whoa, the way you said it, your eyes kind of lit up. And I always knew I wanted to be a comedian. I just didn't know, how do you do it? How do you, because you're a small town in Ohio, how do you become I thought you had to move to LA or New York. I didn't know you could start in whatever town you live in. So my whole thing was, out of high school, I was like, I'll join the military. Who has the most bases in California? Which was the Navy. There was the West Coast. So my thought process was, I didn't know where I wanted to go. I just know where I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be stuck in the trailer park. So the Navy was like, we'll fly you out. You have a job. And I was like this. Wow. Everything they said sounded good to me, living in a trailer. So first 2 years I was in DC, and I would go to comedy clubs. I wasn't old enough to get in, but I would sit outside of them and just listen. And I'm sure I listened to some greats, but I didn't know back then who they were. Mm-hmm. So I would sit outside. Anytime I would see anywhere like their stand-up, or back then there wasn't internet, so it was flyers. You'd see flyers around town. Mm-hmm. I'd see a flyer for stand-up, I'd go and sit outside. I wasn't able to get in, and I'd just listen at the window or the door. And so that's where I was like, okay, I can do this. Because it was weird. I've never been on stage, but I knew I could do it.
Who did you hear? Like anybody that we would know today? Was like D.L. Hughley? Was it Bernie?
I don't even know, Eddie.
You had no idea, really.
Because I didn't know comedians like this. This is pre-internet. This is pre-Def Jam. Oh no, it was Def Jam, but I didn't have cable.
I got you.
So I didn't know Def Jam like that. I didn't know Comic View till I got to California because I never had cable, and so I just would listen to guys. Like I said, I'm sure I heard like probably a Seinfeld. I'm sure I heard a Chappelle back then, but I didn't know. And then I did 2 years in the Honor Guard in DC, and then I went to the police academy, and they was like, where do you want to get stationed? I was like, anywhere in California. And my first day in California in San Diego, I thought the whole state of California was LA. I didn't realize there was other cities outside of LA. So I thought, I'll get discovered as soon as I get there. First day I get to San Diego, I get in the phone book. I call this place called the Comic Castle. And I said, hey, do you guys got open mic? And he goes, hold on, let me check. And I went, huh? Let me check. He comes back, he goes, I can't find him. I go, what? I called a comic book store. And I thought I was calling a comedy. He goes, man, he was looking for a superhero named Open Mike.
Open Mike, right.
So
that's good.
So he gave me the number to the Comedy Store in La Jolla, and then that was my first time ever on stage, and it didn't go great, but I was like, all right, I got it. It just took me a couple months to get the nerve to go back on stage, and then
that had to be nerve-wracking, man. I mean, like to get up there and be vulnerable in front of people and try to make I can only imagine like the fear that you overcome with, like, damn, I am up here bombing, and how do you bounce back from that?
And you got to realize your first time on stage, and I think every comic would agree, you've been working on this 5 minutes your whole life, and you just know it's going to work. And when you realize, these strangers are not my homeboys, I have no rapport. They don't know my backstory. And then, and you're not. I'm thinking, first time on stage, I'm about to get discovered. I'm like, this is it. Tonight is the night. And then when I realized I got to the comedy club, and I'm the last comic on the show on an open mic night because nobody knows me, and the crowd's just, every 20 minutes, somebody else is leaving. By the time I got on stage, there's about 10 people left.
Oh, man.
And, man, you just go through it. But I kind of miss those butterflies back in the day when I was open micing, because it wasn't a business. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about, am I going to get discovered? Once that first time I went up hit me like, I just got to grind and do this.
Yeah.
it was all about like somebody like, yeah, you can get on our stage tonight. And you always felt like, oh, I got stage time tonight. And the butterflies would hit as soon as you walked in the room. You're like, oh, I kind of miss that feeling because now I've been doing it so long. It's a
You just walk
business.
on stage. Yeah. I've seen you in I've seen you in Nashville. Do your thing. It was awesome. I believe it was at Zany's. You've been to Zany's a couple times.
Zanies, yeah.
So I've enjoyed your bits, man. But when I got out of football, I had no idea what to do. I was like, well, what's next in my life? I was so bitter because of how my career ended. And I felt like I had more games to play, Gary, but there was no opportunities. So went back and got my master's in business, but there was something I was missing. I missed the pressure of being under the lights doing something. And at that time, I was getting a lot of inquiries and a lot of auditions to be in movies in L.A. And I would go out to L.A. and audition, and I was terrible. It was so bad.
Auditions.
Like, hey, I remember I auditioned for George Foreman, and the George Foreman and Ali. I forgot the movie. And
Is that the one with Jamie Foxx and Will Smith?
Not that one. It was the one on HBO. I can't remember the name of it.
Oh no, that was Mike Tyson. I was thinking the Mike Tyson one with Michael J. White. I don't know which one that was.
But I'm going through my lines, and they were like, "Okay, take your shirt off and punch act like you're boxing." I'm like, I'm just doing like this. Still doesn't feel right. So, long story short, I didn't do it. I didn't get it. I said, okay, if I'm going to get into acting, I'm going to really get into it. I'm going to learn. I'm going to go to theater. I'm going to get an acting coach. Went back to Nashville, got with an acting coach, got with a theater group, and I would work with them religiously, twice a week. It's just really hard work ethic. And about 5 to 6 months into it, I'm like, all right, man, we're about to put on this production of God's Trombones, and we want you to be in the ensemble. And it's going to make it real easy for you. You're going to be surrounded with people, just know your lines and, deliver your monologue, come down. You got, this, that, whatever you got. You got Judgment Day. That's going to be your monologue. So we go through the whole process of 6 weeks of rehearsals, and I'm learning my lines and this and that. And I'm feeling confident. And it's a one night only event, and it's in Nashville. And I'm just off the heels of playing my career. And we make this huge splash. Eddie George will be on stage at the what theater was that? At the Belcourt Theater in Nashville, Tennessee. And one night only, come out, check them out. Proceeds go to a foundation. So the place is packed. And I'm like, oh, okay, like this is gonna be interesting. And opening scene comes up, and it's a lot of music, a lot of things are going on. There's dancers, African drums, it's God, it's creation. And I was playing the role of God, and every actor had to go down center stage and say their lines and go to the side. And my back is to the audience, and I'm just sidestepping, and I'm just saying, okay, just go over your lines, just keep saying your lines, and God himself slipped down, and God himself slipped down. And I was supposed to come down center stage, Gary. I said, and God himself stepped down with the sun in his right hand, the moon in his left, the stars clustered above his head, the earth under his feet. And God walked and hollowed the valleys out and bulged the mountains up. That's what I was supposed to say. So I come down center stage, and I feel the heat of the lights, and I look in the audience, and I see like my boys on the side. They're like, okay, you Denzel now, huh? Just you would have act. Okay, let's see this act. I can see the smile on their face. I see my wife, my wife at the time. She's like biting her fingernails, like, oh, please, just don't mess this up. And I'm like, okay, here we go. God himself stepped down with the sun in his right hand, the moon in his left. And silence. Said, and the wind is blowing, and the grass is green, and the animals are in the pasture. And God said, "That's good." And I walked off the stage. No one didn't know
Nobody, they don't know.
But the ensemble was like, what is that? And I walked off the stage. I said, I'm not going back out there. There's no way in hell I'm going back out there. I felt like I was bungee jumping. It was embarrassing. But I finally got through my monologue. I sped through it. I was a nervous wreck. I bombed. And I said, you know what, acting probably isn't for me. But I went back to it, and I kept at it, kept going, and I found myself doing Shakespeare. I did Othello and Julius Caesar, and I started doing plays. I did a 2-man play called Top Dog Underdog, and it led me to have an opportunity to be in different shows in LA and so forth, and be on television. And I just stepped out in faith, man, and I learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. But what I found through my experience becoming an actor is just telling the truth in imaginary circumstances, and being vulnerable. And it's okay that I can make mistakes, and I didn't have to be perfect, and they had to go through it. So that's why I asked the question, man, how as a comedian, that 5 minutes had to feel like forever for you.
Oh yeah, because you are on a 1-lane road. If this don't work, I don't have a right or left that I can go to. I don't have, I can dig this out of my arsenal. No, I've been working on these 5 minutes basically my whole life. And then when you realize, they're not really laughing. I'm thinking I'm about to do Eddie Murphy Raw tonight. I'm thinking it's going to be like that. And you're like, this is not that at all.
Right.
Yeah, but I do miss those days, man. And it's funny, like when you talk about acting, I was talking to Michael Ealy, and I said, who do you prefer? What do you prefer? Do you prefer being, because he's an actor's actor to me. When we did Think Like a Man, Think Like a Man 2, I'm always looking at him like, hey, I'm going to try this. I wasn't worried about any of the other guys because Mike was the actor's actor. And I asked him, I said, you prefer working with actors or comedians? Because you've done both. You've done dramatic, you've done comedies. He goes, I like working with actors because they're not going to go off script. He goes, but I get up when I know I have a scene with a comedian in a comedy. He goes, my juices get flowing because I know they're going to try something that's not on the script. And I got to be on my P's and Q's because I got to keep up. And he goes, that's why comedic actors, he goes, we're the guys up there on the wire with no net. Yeah. We're going to try some shit. We're going to try something. It might not work. Whenever I always like, when we talk about auditions, I always think I'm a terrible auditioner. I think when I got the part, I'm good. But I've some of these auditions, I'd be like, when you out there, especially comedic auditions, when you out there giving it and you got 2 casting people looking at you and they're not laughing, and my whole career is a reaction. You're just going, You're just, okay, thanks. Like, what was that? And you never know. You leave there and you feel like defeated, and then they call you like, yeah, you got a call back. I said, what? Did I? And then sometimes you get a warm room where they're like laughing, cutting up, and you don't get a call back. You're like, what just happened there?
I know. It's complete opposite. Hollywood. Well, you're living in Hollywood now, right?
No, I live in Houston now.
In Houston now. Okay.
I live in Houston now.
So you've been very open, I guess, about your personal life, and again, this show is about making it through adversities and how do you get tough through adversity and so forth, and your personal leadership. You were married at one point in time. Are you married now, or I see the ring on your finger? Are you?
We're keeping this one off the internet right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
I've still got PTSD from the old one.
Hey, I remember you talking about your shows, man. I remember.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
Yeah. So just tell me, man, like, for people out there that are going through it, that have been through it. I've been married now for 27 years, and we've had our moments. Now it was going back and forth, but we made it through a lot of life seasons and the vicissitudes of life together. But what did that experience teach you about yourself, and how did you find love again? As I know some people can walk through that journey and that experience jaded and not wanting to. Because I know if I ever, something happened between me and my wife, I'm not doing it again. I'm just I'm living life.
Yeah,
just kind of.
Here's what I learned about going through a divorce. I think when you're in the heat of it, and I told her this before everything hit the fan, before TMZ got a hold of it and stuff. When I first called her and said I wanted a divorce, it's a couple long phone calls, crying, all that, the range of emotions. You're laughing, you're arguing. It's everything within like an hour. And I said, listen, just keep this in the back of your head. I said, you're going to hear some things. I said, we're both going to hear some things about each other. I was like, and I might say some things and you might say some things. I was like, but we got to, like, in golf terms, we got to give each other a mulligan when it comes to these next couple months. I said, because I'm telling you, I've been around enough guys that have been through divorces that were public. I knew everything was going to come out, so to speak. So I didn't know where it would come from, but I knew it was. And I think a couple things that was crazy about the divorce. One, it was a very male bonding experience, if that sounds weird. I had more men call me that have been through a divorce just to check on me, see how I'm doing, tell me what they went through. And I remember, I think it was Shaq or Anthony Anderson, one of them. Both of them called a lot because they have both been through messy public divorces.
Yeah.
And one of them said to me, "Could you get so caught up in your lawyers telling you all this stuff as you're so worried about going broke, you think all your money is about to leave." And then one of them said, "Yo, Gary, just know your talent won't allow you to go broke." And I was like, "Oh." And it just kind of settled me a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that's right. As long as I can be funny, I'll have income coming in."
Yeah.
Because you think your lawyers they'll scare you. But I also think people have to have empathy for the other person. And that's why I never went at my ex, because we always like to think of the bad in the middle of the divorce. But I tried to remind myself, I was in the delivery rooms when our kids were born. Like our oldest son, Austin, we were rear-ended. He came early. And so we had to rush to the hospital, and he got delivered, and we didn't know if he was okay. We didn't know if she was okay. So I saw her go through that. And that's a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was, I think the good and the bad about your partner, but I just, I always try to remind myself, like, at the core, she's not an evil, bad person.
Right.
We just weren't good together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think when you go through divorce, when the man wants a divorce, we're months ahead of the woman when we want the divorce, because we've already emotionally detached ourselves. And with her, it's somewhat of it was a blind side, because it was like I finally said I'm out, but I think deep down we both knew the passion had left.
Yeah.
So that's what I would always try to remind guys. And when I see people on social media just dogging their exes, and especially with kids, I'm like, let's take a second. You know what I mean? Kids are going to see this. You know what I mean? There was a reason you fell in love with her at one point.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I always try to keep that in my head.
Yeah, it's and you got to remember that, that's the mother of your children too.
Yeah.
You got to be respectful of that, and I get it. I've been down that path a little bit myself. Not married, but had a kid. My oldest son is with a different relationship, and you learn a lot, man. Just as I've gotten older, I'm like, man, you know what? I probably owe her a big time apology, because I wasn't asked at that particular time, or I didn't see it from her perspective, and I was just so worried about my life and somebody taking me to the cleaners for X, Y, and Z, and it doesn't work out that way. Money comes and goes. Like you said, talent, God's always going to find a path for you to survive.
Right.
I think the most important thing is to do your best to show your children what a good working relationship looks like while the parents are together. You know what I'm saying? And compassion and empathy and all of that plays a huge, huge part in it all. And understanding is the win-win in it all. So it's remarkable, man, in terms of that. But I'm glad that you found a new love. We're not gonna talk about it. To keep it
she's cool.
under the
Good people.
Are you still rocking the all black Escalade with the tents?
No, she got it. She got the Escalade.
Okay. I remember you talking about it. I was like, I got a black Escalade too. So okay.
Yeah.
Next thing. All right. What's new in your life, man? What projects are you working on now? I know you got your podcast, Get Some. What's that about?
Well, my podcast is just a way for me to just talk every week to myself and to other people. And it keeps me, I think it keeps your brain sharp. You got to keep up with what's going on in the world. Yeah. But, I love the state of stand-up right now is because when I got in the business, you had to have somebody, quote unquote, put you on. We weren't like with athletes. If you're fast or you can dunk or you can run or you can throw the ball, somebody's going to pick you up, Mm-hmm. There are so many stand-ups in the past that probably never got that break, that were probably talented enough. Nowadays, we don't need the quote-unquote machine or we don't need somebody to give us permission. We got our phones. You see so many comedians now traveling with camera guys. And I got a full-time employee now. If I'm on stage, he's with me. Because you never know when that magic's going to happen. You get that random, somebody says something in the back of the room or you think of something up top of your head and you got that captured. Yeah. But between YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, Twitter, like there's so many outlets for you to post your clips, post your sketches. You don't need anybody's permission. And you see people out here, especially the younger dudes, the Desi Banks, the Mojo Brooks, Drewski. Drewski's got his own, he's not even stand-up. He's got his own lane and he's crushing it, Yeah. And then they're able to go on the road and make money. And we don't need I'll go to Netflix, but I don't need Netflix anymore. There was a time where I thought I needed it.
When did that shift? What was it about 5 years ago, 3 years ago that you don't have to use these platforms like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon. I mean, how did it all change?
I think it was about 3 years ago, and I would say Matt Rife was the one that everybody went, oh, because it was more like sketches and dances. Like the young ones want to do TikTok, and then Facebook's still there. Facebook for me is my moneymaker. That's where I get the most shares, but that's my age group too. I get the most shares, I get the most interaction. It leads to the most ticket sales on the road. But I think for a long time I was like, sketches, that's not really my lane. I'm not going to be doing the dances. Yeah. I've aged out. And I said, man, if I wish people would just want to see stand-up on these platforms. And then Matt Rife hit off straight a stand-up clip. And then he had the clips to follow up with it. And I was like, oh, finally. And then, so I made the decision. I talked to my guys and I said, look, the highest paid people on TV are judges and talk show hosts. It's not sitcoms because they're on every day. You know what I mean? Like it was Judge Judy and Oprah were the two highest paid people on TV for the longest because they're on every day. And I said, we got to post a clip every day. Every day we got to have a clip. And, 9 of them might do okay, but if you get that one, you off to the races. Yeah. So my YouTube now is my TV channel. And I'm the CEO, the director, the star. I'm everything.
Oh, so I love it. You own your own platform. That's great.
Yeah. You don't have to.
You got your first.
You don't have to I remember being so frustrated because, people think I've had all these specials on all these different platforms, but it was BET and Showtime. That's been it for me. It's never HBO special, never a Netflix special, never a Comedy Central special. None of those. And I never was a guy that got bitter. You get frustrated, but I never got bitter. I was like, all right, no, let's keep it moving. What else we got?
Yeah. And so how did you land the Comic View host? How did that all come about? Because that's that's a big time position, you know.
Back then, 98 when I got it.
Yes.
That was it was random. I came out of left field. I was still in the Navy, active duty, and I was doing stand up all over San Diego. And I was driving in my truck and I listened to the radio, and they said, "We're looking for the funniest black comedian in San Diego." And I was like, "What?" And the number, I pulled over, wrote the number down, called in, didn't say I was white or black. I think they kind of knew when I said Gary. So I showed up, and I ended up winning the contest. And first prize was an audition for Comic View, because there was a guy named DeMilitant who was a producer and a comedian on Comic View. So I got an audition. So I went up to LA, auditioned for Comic View, got on, and I was ready when I went on there, because there was a contest back then. You go up for like 3 minutes, and then 3 comics an episode, and then one would win at the end of the episode. They would vote, and then you move on. And it was like 4 rounds of that. And I won every round. You get an hour special. So I get the hour special. And then 4 people got hour specials, and they make the decision off the 4 of us. And I know it sounds conceited, but I definitely had the strongest hour out of the 4 that season by the crowd's reaction. But I was also in a sweet spot. They didn't change the audiences. So the same audience is there for 4 hours, because they're a paid audience. So I was second. They weren't tired, and they were all warmed up from the first guy. So I got the sweet spot in the lineup. I'm very aware of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was like 2 months later, Curtis Gaston was the head of BET. His assistant called, and they said he wants to meet with me. And I was living in San Diego. I drove up to LA. I met with him. He goes, "We want to make you the host." And that's how I got the host. I was probably doing stand-up a year and a half at that point.
Wow. That's a blessing. And it just seems like, man, you've always been, I've followed you for years, man. You're extremely funny. And your material just resonates with African Americans. I mean, how does that work? Did you grow up around pretty much all African Americans? How do you relate? Because you just come off as, hey, that's my dude. Like,
yeah. No, I wasn't raised around a lot of black people. I think the few black people that were at my high school I hung out with, because and even in the Navy's interesting. Navy's like a high school too. When I joined the Navy, my first bunkmate was from South Carolina. His name was Copera Washington. And I remember he had pictures mailed where we were in boot camp, and he was on like a John Deere tractor. And I go, "Were you on vacation?" And he's like, "Nah, that's where I live." I said, "Huh?" I go, "Black people don't live on farms." He goes, "What are you talking about? In the Midwest, black people live in the city. They don't really live on farms like that." He grabbed this brother from Mississippi, this brother from Alabama, this brother from Arkansas. He goes, "Oh, and tell me what you just said." I go, "Black people don't live on farms. They did the do the right thing. This dude." And they was like, "We all live on farms." I go, "What?" Mind blown, right? I was 18 years old, and I'm like, I have such a narrow view of the world right now.
Right.
So, and then, being in the Navy like that, Sundays you had like 4 hours where your company commanders, which is our drill instructors, wasn't there. But those 4 hours, we got to listen to music. It was the only time we had any kind of outsource from the outside world. And I said, this is funny. The black guys did not play about their music. I don't know if it's like that in locker rooms. No. Everybody got an hour.
Yeah, it is.
So you got an hour of rock, an hour of hip hop, an hour of country, and then we have some Mexicans. They got to get their Mexican music in. And so the brothers would always go long. We'd be like, "Your hour's up, bro." And then they'd be like, "No, just this last song. Just this last song."
It's always that.
Yeah. And then they're like, then the country guys would get shortchanged 30 minutes. But I also saw, like, when the rock music would come on, black guys knew, like, Journey. Black guys knew Quiet Riot. Some of the guys. I was like, oh. It was just interesting to me, like, I was like, oh, there's this whole dynamic that I didn't know. And then when you actually get in the Navy, when you go to eat, when you're in the middle of the ocean on these ships, it's very segregated. Like black guys sit together, white guys sit together, Filipinos sit together, the Latinos sit together. It's not segregated like something's wrong. It's just that's who you're comfortable sitting around.
Right.
I always sat with the black guys because they were talking football, basketball, boxing, girls. That's what I want to talk about. You know, the white guys are talking about NASCAR. They can't stand their wives. The Mexicans I didn't understand. The Filipinos I didn't understand. I go, I'm going over with the brothers. And I learned like, oh, I can talk smack. I can go back and forth with them. You know what I mean? So that's where it kind of came from. Like, and obviously I liked black women. So, you know, when you first get into stand-up, that's the easiest way to meet girls too. You know what I mean?
I can imagine.
So I'd go do the black rooms that a lot of white comics wouldn't want to go to. So I could get up in San Diego. I could probably get up 4 or 5 times a week. Where if I just stuck to the white rooms, I might be able to get up once or twice a week. But a lot of the white comics didn't want to go to those
more
black
repetitions.
rooms.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, guys.
And vice versa. Some of the black comics didn't want to go to the mainstream rooms because they're not going to get my jokes. I would just go to both, and I was on stage so much.
Man, that's amazing. Now, jump into just like your legacy through comedy, like your purpose and I guess your faith. What do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done through comedy?
I think a big for me is like having respect of my peers. I want to make sure, but I hope when, you know, comics look back like, hey, Gary was funny and I didn't steal jokes. I didn't steal I see comics steal mannerisms, and some of it isn't on purpose. That's why I don't watch a lot of stand-up, because I want to make sure that my stuff is mine. I don't want to be like, oh, I got that from him, because you see guys move and things like that. So the respect for my peers is big, and you know, I just hope I get more satisfaction when people come up to me and say that I got them out of a dark place. When they tell me like, man, I've been in a bad place, but your stand-up. Or I've had guys be like, I was in a hospital for whatever, open heart surgery, and you know, you came across my feed. Yeah. He goes, and it broke up the monotony of being stuck in this hospital bed. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I had a guy about 3 months ago in LA, Burbank, came up to me and he had a cane and he had a stroke. And he said he had the stroke. He was in the hospital. He goes, and I came across his feed, and he goes, man, it's just every day like I said, I had a new clip out. He goes, and I went looking for one of your new jokes or one of your new bits. He goes, when I saw you were coming, he said, I had to go. And he was in not great shape. And he goes, nothing was going to stop me from going to see you. Yeah. I was like, wow.
That's awesome.
That's bigger than what we're really like. In a way, we're our own doctors, comedians, because we're healing people up here, and we're making them forget, you know, all this stuff that's probably weighing them down in life. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Well, I tell you what, you got me out of a dark place today. As of right now, we had 2 weeks ago we beat Toledo, and we were on cloud 9, and came back from 21 points down and found our way back, scored 28 unanswered points to beat them in the rivalry of I-75. And, oh, man, it was awesome. And then we come back. We have another home game last weekend, and we lose to Central Michigan. And it's like the agony of defeat and the what is the saying? What is it? Victory of the
thrill of victory, the agony of defeat.
Thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. I couldn't think of it. And I mean, this the mood right now is just like, you know, it's doomsday. Nobody wants to play. Nobody wants to talk. And I'm trying to cheer guys up, you know, just trying to give them material, give them my energy and this and that. And I'm like, oh my God, this is exhausting. So taking this time out for me, hearing your story, making me laugh, I completely forgot, like, damn, I'm not a coach today right now. Like, this has been awesome, man. So,
and the weather's changing.
It is.
Starting to get chippy out hoodie weather now.
You listen, I listened, other than Tennessee for the last 27 years. and we might have, a week of the below freezing weather, a week up here. Oh, dude, I forgot that it is, and we up in the northwest, and it is off their lakes, and I gotta wear my bomber like on damn, and when I got here in May, it was still like 30 degrees. I was like, what is this? Like I completely forgot, man. But no, it's been a blessing, man. I got a couple more questions for you. If you were to have a Mount Rushmore for comedians, who would they be?
That's a tough one. That changes all the time, because I think you always have to put Eddie and Richard, always, just because Eddie, people forget Eddie only had 2 specials. He doesn't have a large body of work. He's got like 2 Tonight Show appearances, 2-hour specials, and his specials, he was like 21 and 23 when he shot them.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. And go back and watch, I don't know if it's Delirious or Raw. His last joke was about his mom making the hamburger and the black skillet, putting the peppers in it, and it's melting the sandwich.
Yeah.
That's your last joke? Usually that's the first or second joke. Usually the last joke was probably a little raunchy, a little dirty. You're going there. I was like, he said goodnight off how his mom made a hamburger. I don't think people realize how brilliant that is. It's just like,
this is wild.
So Eddie and Richard off the rip, I would say George Carlin. And personally, for me, who's climbed up there over the last 5 years is Bill Burr.
Yeah,
I would almost say Bill Burr, because he's so.
Yeah.
I ran into him at the Burbank. I've known Bill for 25 years, but I ran into him at the Burbank airport probably about 10, 11 years ago. And I remember I saw him going through security, and our eyes met. And Burbank Airport, you ever flown out there? It's small.
Yeah.
So we sat down and have lunch, and we were talking about what we like, what we don't like. And I just remember he goes, Gary, man, I'm just going to be so fucking funny they can't deny me. And I just went, oh, it really is that easy. That's all he said. Like, I don't know how it's going to happen. I'm just going to be so funny they can't deny me. I was like, that was really that easy. So I would say those 4. But that, Eddie and Richard will never change, but those other 2 could switch if you ask me in a couple years.
Always switch. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. I think that's an interesting perspective of, who you think is funny, who you listen to, who influences your material, who you look up to. It's the same thing for football players, like who you have a Mount Rushmore of great running backs. That always changes. I mean, that is super hard, because it depends on what era you're talking about, like Jim Brown or Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders.
Jim Brown was running against like Cracker Barrel managers back then.
But hold on, dog. Wait. See, no, not Jim was a dude, man. I mean,
no, I'm not saying he wasn't, but I'm saying the D linemen and the linebackers there was no Ray Lewis's.
No, it was no Ray
on
Lewis.
A consistent basis.
300-pound men, right? I got you. But this how he ran with command, And my father loved it. But Earl Campbell, to me, yes.
That
dude, the greatest big back of all time. He had it all. I mean, Earl was awesome. All right, my last thing I do, man, when I have everybody on, I have this thing called the 5 H's. When I do my team deal at night, during the summer when we were summer camp, we get up and every player and staff member gets up to talk about these 5 H's, and it just breeds vulnerability, and it just evokes some type of emotion, or just really helps you get to understand the person. And I'm pretty sure the last one's gonna, you'll come up. I know you'll come up with something that's in your alley. But the first H is who's your hero?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say. It's going to sound crazy, but I would say my new girl, her mom. So going to be my mother-in-law.
Really?
7 kids, pretty much raised them by herself. I just sort of see the way she maneuvers through life. Even though I've only known her 5 years,
Oh,
she's made that
okay.
much of an impact on my life.
Man, that's awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, good. Hardship. It's a hardship.
For me, probably the biggest hardship was growing up. How I did in the trailer park. You're kind of on your own. You know, your dad's not really messing with you. Your stepdad's not really messing with you. Your mom's, I don't know what she was doing. It was just kind of like, always felt like I was on my own my whole life. So I would say, yeah, growing up like I did was the hardest thing in my life.
Now, what got you through it, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know. I always knew I didn't belong there. I felt like an outsider. And I like that I felt like I didn't belong in this trailer park. I never believed. I'm thankful I wasn't accepted by my dad, my stepdad, or my mom, because I would have probably been stuck because I would have had their approval. And it was so toxic, you know what I mean? And the fact that I didn't get their approval, I had to go elsewhere to find it. So I found it through my football coaches. I found it through other kids I went to high school with. I don't have the high school story of I used to tell people I was going to be a comedian. They said I was crazy. They all said, "No, you're funny. I can see it." Like the kids was like my high school kids, the guys I went to school with, and still my best friends to this day, and probably my football coaches. They're the one that probably got me through it.
Good.
Because I'll tell you a story, Eddie. My junior year of high school, I didn't go to practice. We were having two-a-days in the summertime. And then I knew I wasn't going to be playing that year. So I was kind of losing, you're kind of like, junior, I'm not going to be playing, I'll be on JV and not playing. And then about the third game, I didn't go to practice. I didn't go to practice Monday. I didn't go to practice Tuesday. I didn't go to practice Wednesday. My head coach of the football team pulled me out of class and said, "Where you been the last 3 days?" And I go, I made up some excuse. He goes, "I need you to practice today. We need you." I wasn't playing, but it was like, oh, he noticed me. He realized I wasn't there. Yeah. You got this little kid, this little guy, probably with 140 pounds, wasn't playing. Yeah. They didn't need me, but he realized something's going on here. So he pulled me aside, and I never forget, he was standing like this. He was in the hallway, his big dude. He played at Miami of Ohio, and he goes, "Where you been?" He goes, "All right, I need your practice." Had his fingers out like this. He's like, "I need you. We need you. You gonna be there?" I said, "I'll be there." So I never missed a practice. The rest of my junior year or my senior, I never missed a practice game. Because awesome. In my mind, I was like, "Oh, he needs me." You know what I mean?
And that's the power of a coach, man. Like being in that role now, and everybody is significant. And my role is what I found is not just winning games. Of course, you want to win games. I'm very super competitive, but like what I found, Gary, the last 5 years that I've been in this is that I'm impacting the lives and shaping the lives and the character of men. And these kids are coming in the building with so much luggage and trauma, and that I have to create an environment where they can heal, man, and be vulnerable and learn to, find outlets that are healthy and find help like counseling. And because you don't know, it hinders you, it catches you in the wrong place. A kid will lash out, if you're telling him to run through the A gap with, pass down. Well, it comes out. It just comes up because they're dealing with some other trauma that they haven't shared or talked about or dealt with. And it's amazing that coach saw something in you, like he needed you, but he probably saw that, you needed that more than anything else, just for somebody to see based off of your history and with your dad, your mom, and your upbringing.
I was noticed. Yeah. That was the thing. I was like, oh, he noticed me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's huge.
So, it was cool.
All right. Third one, a highlight. Tell me a highlight. They've had so many, from Comic View to being on stage to your career.
If I was going to say the highlight of my career was probably getting the phone call that I got the part in Think Like a Man. because looking back, I didn't know how that was going to really change a lot for me as far as like my whole career. And, you know, we had a feeling this movie was going to be big, but to see how it all ended up, I just never forget the day I got the phone call saying, "You got it." I was like, I was just, you know, I remember my kids were younger. They were in the back seat and they were loud. And I had to literally park in front of like a Dollar General. And I hopped out and it was freezing. And I took the phone call and they're just in the car, just wilding. And I'm just, yes! And I get back in the car, scream louder, we're good. That was probably the highlight, that phone call. That phone call. Because you know how it is when you get a job, an acting job, once you're on set, it's a job. The excitement is when you got the part. Like, I got it. That's where you go out to dinner and you celebrate. Once you're on set, even when the movie comes out, the work's done.
Yeah, it's already
done.
Over. Right.
Yeah.
Right. You put in all the hard work, you finally got it, and man, I mean it's a classic movie, by the way.
Yeah.
That Think Like a Man is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, what do you hope for?
You know, I just had twins. A couple.
Congratulations!
I got toddlers. I got two 2-year-old twins.
Oh, that's what I hear in the back.
Yeah. Oh, you can hear that? Yeah, they just woke up from their nap. They wow. They're everything you think 2-year-old boys would be. So I just want to be around for them because I'm a little older as a dad, but I'm enjoying it. So my hope is just be healthy, to see them become fully grown adults, and whatever they decide to do, I hope I'm still around to see it.
Oh, that's great, man. Congratulations, brother. Congrats,
thanks.
Man. Last and final one, man. Okay. What do you find hilarious? Something hilarious.
Oh. It's going to sound awful, but I love watching the first 48 interviews. Because I was like, "Ooh, let's see what lie they're going to tell." They already know they did it. Whenever they repeat the question, it's over. Like, where were you at 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock? You know, Charlie. I go, "Oh, you did it." It's my guilty pleasure. I watch first 48 for them interviews, bro.
First 48. So you watch somebody literally in agony, in fear, like knowing they're
like if they did the crime, I'd just be like, some of these lies, and they just be looking like, I don't know. They go, "That look like you?" Nah, that a lot of people got money bags tattooed right here.
Right, I'll have a money bag right.
Only God can judge me. That's not me. That's not me.
Oh man, well, hey Gary, that's all I got, man. I really appreciate you coming on, man, and sharing with our viewers just your background, your perspective, your legacy, man, and God bless you, my friend. Anything you need from me, let me know. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, appreciate it, man.
All right, man.
Good luck this week.